In this video, we'll make a simple but fully functioning iOS camera using 6 different AI models. We are going to use Claude 4 Sonnet, Gemini 2.5 Pro, GPT-5, Grok 4, Kimi K2, and Qwen 3 Coder. So we are going to use the same prompt to create the iOS camera app for each of the AI models. With the prompt, we want to create a SwiftUI camera app that allows users to apply different kind of image filters to the iOS device's camera feed or view. We want to use standard SwiftUI components for each of the views and also use SF symbols for icons and buttons. I also added a reference link to the prompt. That is a reference to core image filters. I want to begin with my favorite of the camera apps. That is GPT-5. So I created an Xcode project and added all these empty folders for Claude, Gemini, GPT-5 and the rest. To generate the code with each of the models, we are going to use different platforms. For the GPT-5 version, we want to use Cursor. Over here, you have noticed we have the same folder. With the chat window in Cursor, I gave a reference to this folder and generated this file. So this is the camera app using GPT-5. You can find the prompt in the description of the video. So over here in Cursor, so you can use Cursor chat to try the prompt yourself using GPT-5. With each of the models, we won't go through the details of the code. I just want to show you the final camera app output using each of the models. So let's go back to Xcode and run this example. Since each of the examples involves the use of the device camera, we need to run each of them on a physical iOS device. So over here, you have noticed I have selected Amos iPhone. To be able to use the camera, we need to set some permissions. So you go to the project navigator and go to the info tab. To be able to see the camera feed, you need to add this privacy, camera usage description. For this example, we are not using the microphone. However, I added that as well. So as you have noticed, we have microphone usage description. To run the GPT-5 camera app, we need to go to the entry point of the app. So we are going to run the GPT-5 camera struct at the entry point of the app. I'll put a comment here and uncomment this one and run it. So we now have the beautiful GPT-5 camera. So this shows the camera without any filter. So now we are in the none category. You can select mono or select a sepia tone, a null filter, a bloom filter, vignette, blur, and color invert. It also has a touchlight. You can also flip the camera. Finally, we have settings for configuring the intensity. So this is everything about the GPT version of the camera app. So let's move on to the next. For the next example, I want to show you the camera app that was generated by Claude 4 Sonnet. For this example, you can use Cursor with the prompt. However, I use Claude.ai. So over here, you have noticed I added the same prompt to create a SwiftUI camera app that allows users to apply different image filters to the iOS device's camera view. And here we have the generated code. So this is the same code you see in Xcode. However, I made a little change. Most of the models generated the code using the same struct. For example, instead of camera view, I added cloud camera view to make it distinct. So I copied the code from here and created a new file in Xcode and pasted it and changed the struct to cloud camera view as you see here. So to run the Claude 4 Sonnet example, let's go to the entry point and put a comment here, uncomment this one and run it on the iPhone. The Claude example uses landscape orientation, so I'll flip the phone. We also have all the filters here. So I can select sepia tone, a null filter, vintage, vibrant, cool, warm, and the rest. You can also flip the camera, like the GPT-5 example. Comparing the Claude 4 Sonnet camera to the GPT-5 one, you have noticed the GPT-5 camera is well done. Let's go to the next, that is Gemini 2.5 Pro. With the Gemini 2.5 Pro example, I used Google AI Studio. So you have noticed here, I added the same prompt and the model went through this chain of thought and generated the code here. So I copied this code and created a new file in Xcode and added it. Again, I also made a little change. You have noticed here, we still have the struct camera view. So I changed this to Gemini camera view. So let's go back to Xcode and run it. I'll go to the entry point again and put a comment here and uncomment Gemini camera view and run it on my iPhone. The Gemini 2.5 Pro example also uses landscape mode and uses the back camera. So over here we can apply each of the filters to the camera feed. As you have noticed, both the Claude and GPT-5 versions are much better than the Gemini 2.5 Pro version. So with this example done, I'll move on to the next, that is Grok. With the Grok example, I also made some little changes. For example, here it used filter type. That was also used by one of the models. So I added Grok filter type and also changed content view to Grok content view. So if I go to the browser and go to my X account, you have noticed here I added the same prompt to generate it with Grok 4 and copied the code to the Xcode project. So let's run it in Xcode. I'll go to the entry point of the app, put a comment here and uncomment this one and run it. So we have the Grok example in full screen mode and we can apply the filters like the previous examples. With the Grok example, we have only 3 filters. Let's move on to the next, that is Kimi K2. With the Kimi K2 example, it generated 3 files: camera view model, and the filter picker. So we are going to preview all these filters on the device. I'll go to the browser and show you the code. So I added the prompt. Over here, you have noticed it generated the camera view model. If I scroll down, we have the filter picker and the camera view. So I'll go back to Xcode and run it. That is this one. So this is also similar to the Grok example. However, it has more filters than the Grok example. Our last example is Qwen Coder. With that example, we also have 3 files. So we have the camera manager, camera preview, and its content view. So if I go to the browser, over here we have the Qwen example. We have our prompt and the code generation for each of the files. I'll go back to Xcode and run it. So the Qwen example also looks simple and beautiful. We have everything in full screen mode and we can select the filters and apply them. So that is everything we have in this video. I showed you how to create a simple but functional camera app using 6 different models: Claude 4 Sonnet, Gemini 2.5 Pro, GPT-5, Grok 4, Kimi K2, and Qwen Coder. With all the examples I showed you, I prefer the GPT-5 version the most.